You are in the audience of Daniel Hagen's fantasy Impromptu, an opera titled The Messiah, a realistic fiction fantasy sci-fi game show. This episode is titled, What are the options available to someone who is the victim of stalking? The victim of stalking has these three option categories. Not talking to your stalkers. Investigation, yourself or by the FBI. Talking to your stalkers. I challenge you to think of another category. This is helpful to realize the options available and know the domain of each option. Don't talk to your stalkers. Maybe they will just stop on their own. If the victim does not talk to their stalkers, that doesn't solve the problem. Investigating. You could try solving the problem on your own. Daniel Hagen has stated that he can't run around and solve the problem. Calling the police. When Daniel Hagen did call the police flatly refused because they don't believe that the stalkers are real, and even if the stalkers are real, the police wouldn't be able to do anything about it because there's no way of identifying the stalkers. Talking to your stalkers. You could try negotiating with your stalkers. You could try to outsmart your stalkers. Here's one way that you could outsmart your stalkers. On the opera, the criminals that surround Daniel do not report themselves. So, the only way to get them to identify themselves is if Daniel incriminates himself, then his stalkers often then call the police, and then his stalkers then go to prison because they can be identified and charged with a crime. You should realize that the only solution to this game is if Daniel incriminates himself, or at least if he appears to. For example, Daniel could create an opera that only makes it look to stalkers specifically that he is committing crimes, then they will report Daniel and reveal themselves in the process. Anonymous reporting would defeat this purpose and prevent stalking from ever being identified or solved. Please remember that stalking societies are called endemic surveillance societies because they are endemic, meaning widespread. So widespread that Privacy International uses the color red to indicate the status of the United States instead of the color green. This means that the United States government is not in control of this issue, and, instead, criminals are so widespread that they are basically and in effect in control of this issue.